Welcome to this video about how to connect deeper with the beautiful blue lotus. My name is Eva Maria. I'm a plant priestess and I guide people into a deeper connection with the medicine and wisdom of plants. Today I want to share about one of my major teachers, Blue Lotus, and how you can connect deeper with this amazing plant. If you haven't watched the video about Blue Lotus as a devotional master, I invite you to do that to get a little pre-history about this amazing plant. So first and foremost, when we want to connect deeper with a plant, I think it's important to remember that it's about a relationship. So like when we connect with a human or a pet or a business partner, which would also be human, but like whichever kind of relationship it is, there's something about building a connection over time, and that can't just be hurried. And that's so wherever you are in your process of connecting deeper with nature and deeper with plants and deeper with Blue Lotus, kind of remember that it's a step-by-step process, and you build up a relationship and you build up a practice. So this video is really, it's based around a practice that's like a really good place to start, but also this practice is really deep, and the more I do it, the deeper it becomes. So it's a foundational practice, but it's really like it can keep on growing. It's something that you have to keep doing, even no matter how deep your relationship is. So the way to start, I would invite you to start with your intention. So again, the intention of building a relationship, building reciprocity, getting to know each other. So it's not a one-way street. This is a connection that goes both ways. The next step would be sitting with the plant without consuming it. So if you're lucky enough to live in a place where Blue Lotus is growing free, I would invite you just to go and sit with it. And if you're like me, unfortunately, are not living in such a place, which I would be able to do if it was nettle or the birch tree. But with Blue Lotus, I would either sit just in the energy and invite the energy of Blue Lotus in, or if you have access to any Blue Lotus flowers, sit with it. Sit and connect without consuming, without using, without anything, just connect with it. The next step would really be to slow down. Like, plants work in a very different tempo than us human beings, and if we want to connect with them and if we want to communicate with them, it's kind of a new language that we're learning, and part of that language is more in that slow, vibrational, calm nervous system way. So if we're full of stress, if we're full of to-do list and all these things, it makes it challenging to be able to listen and actually be present together with the plant, which it would also be if it was a human being or somebody else. But especially since plants communicate in a different way than us humans, you need to slow down. So now the step would be of kind of connecting the physicality with the energy. If you are in a place where you can go out and you can harvest the plant yourself, that's where I would do that. And if you know about concepts like the honorable harvest, or ways of really harvesting and taking care of the plant and the energy of the plant while you are in whichever process, like with Blue Lotus, it would be harvesting and drying. And if you don't know those concepts, I can really recommend reading the book Braiding Sweetgrass. It's made by Robin Wall Kimmerer, and I can put a link to it wherever this video is. So if you're like me, are living in a place where Blue Lotus is not growing wild, I have to trust, and I have to depend on where I'm sourcing my Blue Lotus from, so that I'm getting it from people who are treating it with care, where the plant is being honored, where the nature around it is being honored, where people are getting a fair salary, like that everything that goes into it really is with love. That makes a very, very big difference. And so there I have to depend on kind of how I trust where my source brings the Blue Lotus from, and if it's organic, or all of those kind of things. And then I'm sitting with the Blue Lotus that I have then received if I'm working with the physical plant. But again, I could be working simply with the energy and inviting that into water, for example. So now I'm sitting with the plant, and there it's really important that I communicate with the plant and I ask permission from the plant to work with it right now in making medicine and connecting with it. And I think it's really important to remember that plants are not like a cat or a human. Like a cat, if it doesn't want to play with you right now, it might scratch you and it walks away. A plant cannot walk away. So I'm sitting here with Blue Lotus, and it's my responsibility to listen to its boundaries. So if I feel a no, to really, really honor that no. That's a really big part and a really important part of building a relationship with any kind of being, but also with plants. So like, hey, I'm stating my intention. I want to connect deeper with you. Please bring me your medicine. I want to share your wisdom with the world, whatever it is. Or if it's like, I'm going to do a ceremony for me and my partner, and we want to connect deeper with your medicine and bring it into our relationship, like whichever intention it is, and then sitting with the plant and asking permission. And when you're slowing down and sitting with it and doing that process, it might have things to add or some things might shift, right? But you're asking permission. And if it's a no, as I said, you honor that no and you don't do it right now. It doesn't mean no forever. It just means no right now. Please honor that boundary. And so the next step would be, now I'm sitting with Blue Lotus. We kind of agreed upon we're gonna make some sort of medicine with it. And you're going to state what kind of medicine. So you could be making a flower essence, or you could be brewing a tea, or you could be smoking it, or like making a mandala, like whichever way. There's so many ways of working with any sort of plant. I prefer working with Blue Lotus in water. I'm not really in for burning it, but or alcohol extracts. I mean, but if that's what you're into, then that's perfect, you know. And it could also be making an oil or something like that. So I'm just going to take a water extract as an example, and that's really where I would invite you to start. But also, since Blue Lotus is such a water plant, I think it's a very natural element to work with Blue Lotus in. Then you would be brewing medicine. And the difference between brewing a tea, whether you put it in cold water or if you boil it, the real big difference here is really intention and spirit, right? So what is the intention? And are you present when you brew it? What is the intention with it? Or are you just brewing a cup of tea? And when I say spirit, I mean that it is connected with the spirit of the plant, that the energy of the plant is there. And that's why we also got to go through that process of getting permission from the plant to make the medicine. If we don't have the permission, the energy is not in the tea. We can, of course, still experience something, but it's really just like a quarter of what is possible, you know, like a 1% out of all the thousands of percents of what's possible to do with the plant. So we're brewing it with intention, we're taking care, we're with it. If you work with ceremonial cacao, you would probably know that process of like how much a difference it is when you're present in the brewing process with cacao, and it's the same with Blue Lotus. Now you can also go deep into working with well water. I love that, like bringing different type of waters in, and how, you know, all of that is kind of the nerdy stuff, which could get really fun. But basically you're brewing medicine in whichever way it is, or you're sitting with the plant, which in itself is perfect and a really deep practice. Once you have that medicine, you're going to have a ritual where you're working with the medicine, whichever it is. If it's oil, you're working with the oil. If it's the tea, you will be drinking the tea. And it's really important, like a ritual is a good place to start, again, with connecting with plants, because it brings a container, it brings kind of a structure to the connection, where we want to kind of keep distractions out of that space. We want to make sure that we can be in a space of slowing down and reciprocity, so that we can actually listen and that we can actually receive. Like, how do I bring myself into that state of receptivity where I'm like the earth, just receiving the rainwater, right? Receiving the medicine of Blue Lotus. So you create a container for that. You might have a time frame, might put on candle lights, music, or whatever works for you, and make sure you're undisturbed as much as possible. And then with intention, you're communicating with the plant, you're drinking it, and you're sitting with it, and you're present with what comes up. And here, of course, if you're full of stress, if you're like this in your whole nervous system, and if you're stressing about your to-do list, or you have to pick up your kids in 5 minutes, that makes it more challenging to be present and to listen. Not, that's reality sometimes. Sometimes that happens, and no matter how deep you go into the practice, sometimes we get distracted. And it is part of mastering that practice of kind of plant communication, of going in, removing those distractions and being present, which is also is as a therapist or in a relationship with any other kind of being, also in a partnership with another human. So you're present, you're listening, you're receiving, you're communicating, you're there, which in itself is medicine, right? And then I would say the last thing is really that you then close that ritual properly. So you're saying thank you, you're ending whatever you're in, and then you move on to the next thing. And it's always a good idea to just have a moment. Maybe you want to write down notes, but at least like receiving what just happened, and then you move on to the next thing. And then comes all these things about how do we deepen our communication? How do we understand? Like, the language that the plants are speaking is so much more in sensations and symbols and in the body and in sounds and in, then you think about that, and they work with our imagination, they work with our dreams, they work with our body. And so that's kind of part of the mastery and part of what you go deeper and deeper and deeper into, and what I love to teach people in our plant mystery school that I have with my beautiful husband Stefan, MightyTree. And so if you're interested in going deeper with the plants and really going in there where all the yumminess is, you're so welcome to our courses or mentorships or apprenticeships. And otherwise, I just really wish you good luck with exploring your relationship to Blue Lotus. It is such a gift to be with this plant in my life, and I hope it can be such a gift for you and for the world as well. Bye bye.